So now we are really fortunate we do have time for questions. There is a couple of questions in the chat that I will come back to, and then some broader questions I would like to ask all the presenters. So if our presenters would like to make themselves visible to the rest of our participants today, you'll be very welcome to come back on screen. Just starting with a couple of outstanding questions. So there has been interest from our participants on what the sort of success numbers are for learners that are coming through the program, both at AUT and at Auckland. So I wonder if you were able to speak to success data relating to people who have come through those preparation programs, if you've got any data yet looking at the completion of degrees.
Maybe I'll start. I'll start with this one. It's thank you for the question. Yeah, the success data really is quite complex when you look at it. And the first thing that we need to acknowledge is actually the students that are coming into these programs, and I can assume that UA has something similar, is that they're coming in with challenges that extend beyond the time period of just these programs. And so an example may be that a student would come in and enter a certificate program and then move on to a diploma here at AUT, but may not have the opportunity to pursue a full degree due to, having to work full time. And so when we look at the transition into degrees, that might not be the best measure to take into consideration. It might just be completion. The other thing to note here in this scenario is that what we often find with students who are coming in with extra pressures on them is that their road to completion is prolonged. And so a 3-year degree in theory may take 4 or 5 years to complete, not for a lack of trying or for a lack of inability or capability, but due to circumstance and having to either withdraw from courses or papers throughout the year, having to limit their number of courses that they're enrolled into, but also when you take that into account, it would impact some of the student allowance kind of funding that they would receive too. So, the data does show that there is some work to do in that area, but I think it's not surprising. And if you look at the foundations of where students are coming from, we refer back to the deprivation index slide that I showed. The fact that they're coming to university in itself is an accomplishment in itself, given all of the challenges that some of them do face. Does anyone else want to chime in this one? It's probably a very politically correct answer, but it's, yeah.
I can just talk to it though. With the Toiki Waipapa program, which is a program that I've been overseeing, as I said, it's still in its infancy, and the numbers were still, this was the first year that we got a really strong increase in numbers to give us a strong base and a statistically relevant group in terms of giving us an accurate database and gauge. So that's something that we will be able to, and that we will have more sort of relevant and successful data moving forward. For that, though, I see we have Gemma and Catherine, two of the leads actually of our Summer Start program in years past here. And I think Gemma might be putting in some info regarding some of our summer programs, so she'll have more knowledge on that, those stats specifically. But if you do have them, then by all means chuck them in the chat, Kath and Gemma.
Yes, thank you so much, Gemma, for popping those in. So those are really interesting to see. And Kelly, I thought I might hopefully not put you on the spot too much with a statistics question, but I'm really interested to know if you have done that kind of analysis on the learners you're engaging with and seeing whether that contributes to their successful completion with you.
Thanks, Sarah. You have put me on the spot.
Sorry.
I don't have those stats at hand, but obviously all the everything that we do, we data analysis every year in terms of completions. Disabled learners at the moment are actually doing 6% above our non-disabled learners, so they're achieving a much higher outcome, and I do believe that is due to the work that we have been doing in the last year. with our initiatives and strategies.
Great. So that coming back to engagement again, how do we engage learners to make sure they're on the right pathway and getting the support they need? That's fantastic. Thank you, everyone. We did have another question come in, which I thought was really interesting. It's been noted in both the university preparation pathway conversations that you are seeing significantly more women than, or people identifying as female coming in than people identifying as male. If this is common across the programs, does anyone have any feelings or thoughts about why you're seeing this at this time? And has this always been the case for these kind of programs?
Perhaps I can start again, and just for reference, I actually used to manage the Unibound program at UOA as well. So I can say that actually this has been a trend for quite some time. And I think it's actually a trend in tertiary education in general. In many specific areas, I think the exception would be when you're looking at, say, engineering or very physics or calculus-based subjects. That's where the difference, I think, is when you have more males than females. But I actually think it's a shift in the educational opportunities that sometimes are offered to people at certain stages. And one of the challenges that you would see particularly is what I would describe as the rerouting of students at high school level into subject areas that may not enable them to enter university. And so I think some of those decisions are happening quite early on. And so, for example, you look at our economy and the shortage of trades people. I mean, trades generally is a very male-dominated industry, and you would see a lot of our young men over the last decade or so have been rerouted into those areas, whereas some of them might have actually ended up in, say, more in universities instead. And I think that that's one of the shifts that I see. I don't know what the cause is or how this has come to be. I think there'd have to be a little bit more of a data analysis in terms of when it actually started to shift. But since my experience since 2016, I've seen this happen year after year. So
probably just to add on to what Rennie has mentioned about males entering the trade, I think it's with paid to learn schemes as well, opportunities to earn as quickly as possible and and to avoid student debt, and also the entry requirements to get into trades or into apprenticeships are much lower than getting into UE. And I mean that in the most respectful way as well, especially in recent years where UE rates are dropping, and students are, if they don't have to finish year 13 to enter into a trade. So yeah, like Rennie said as well, it is a male-dominated profession, and where if there are opportunities to earn while you learn, that's could be part of that's contributing to the shift in genders as well, or the stats and genders.
I'll just also add the data from Universities New Zealand around the gender differences, particularly in bachelor programs. So 38% equivalent of male full-time students make up that composition, and 62% are female. So this is right across. It isn't just sort of our pathway programs. Yeah, so I think it's just good to also look at that broader context as well and how it sits here.
Thank you, Jacoba. That's really fascinating. There's something in the back of my head about, a challenge, I guess, to all of us, and I include the Commission in that. And are we understanding what our male identifying students might be needing to feel that there are multiple pathways open to them in tertiary education, or have we unintentionally shut them out? Kelly, I'm interested in whether you know the gender balance across UB, because you're offering a broad range of programs, and are you also seeing a swing to more female identifying students, or?
Yeah, historically, the ratio has been more females to males, and obviously, the gender mix has changed too with non-binary as well. We see that come through also. Predominantly, a lot of our programs you could say, do tend to attract the female gender. With our beauty programs, our tourism programs, those industries are predominantly female, but that is starting to change as well. So we are starting to see those changes come through now in the industry, and with the animation world as well, and the film schools that we also have, we're seeing that come through too.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I haven't seen anything else. Someone has noted that I wonder if there is a higher uptake on males heading down a high performance sport pathway and heading into paid sports teams or overseas. Well, that's definitely an interesting one. I'm not sure that would be a huge numbers, but when we look at what young people tell us they want to do, you know, being athletes, star athletes is obviously one of the big things they do indicate. I do have a question for all our attendees that I would like to pose, and I think after that, unless we have any other specific questions from the floor, we will wrap up. And it's quite a broad one, and so you might want to take a moment to think about it. But it was, how has implementing the guided pathways work that you've been talking about, your different initiatives and the different ways of doing them, how has implementing those impacted on the broader organisation? So what do you feel that this work has brought to the broader organisation? Maybe what have been the challenges for that? Just really interested in people's quick reflections on that.
I'm happy to go. I think when you have a large organisation, quite often what can happen is departments work in silo. And when you've been in an organisation for a long period of time and you've worked in multiple departments, you understand the mechanics and you understand what a smooth transition and the impacts that if we don't have that smooth transition, what that can actually mean for the end user, who is our student. So I think by implementing the guided pathways, it sets really clear expectations to departments and who's accountable and the timely manner in which these actions or responsibilities need to happen within.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Any comments from our university partners today?
I'll probably jump in first on this one. I think for us, you know, we based on our successes, you know, we groom Pasifika leaders to contribute to the university. After our summer programs, they gained the confidence that's, you know, there's this level of confidence that they gain where they feel like they're part of the institute, and which is very important to us as well, because then they become future leaders for our incoming Pasifika students, and you know, they will now leaders contribute to the university and its student bodies. You know, they also contribute to the success of all our Pasifika students, but likewise for the respective peers within their faculties and across the campuses as well. So I think it's just that, yeah, just adding that extra level of confidence for our students. An example was when we had our Māori and Pasifika Orientation Day, you know, and one of our uni-bound students actually spoke on behalf of all our Pasifika students and amongst all the other elders that were in prison as well, including Hone Harewera himself. So it was just that level of confidence that, you know, that they gained over the 5 or so weeks with us, you know, where they felt like they belonged at the university and that the University of Auckland was their home. So that's yeah, that's my piece on it.
I'll just add one thing to that. In terms of its impact on the broader university, I think it brings to the fore some of the objectives we have in things like the Learner Success Plan, and things like we have a Māori staffing plan, we have Waipapa Toi Turn, we have various high-level initiatives that focus on success in a Māori context, success for Māori staff, success for Māori students. And so these types of initiatives and these particular programs help bring that to the fore and keep that to the fore for our leadership, because these programs are things that are designated uni-bound, as is Toia Ki Waipapa, there to support specific student demographic that historically has been underrepresented in the space. And so what I think is the benefit, a broader benefit and a wider benefit, is actually keeping that at the fore and keeping that process and that thinking away from a one-size-fits-all model, and it actually brings to the fore, actually, in terms of reaching these goals and these wider objectives that the university has for Māori success, for Pacifica success. This helps put to the fore, actually, there are ways in which we can do that, and this is a model that can be canvassed.
Final thoughts from AUT?
Kia ora, Heta Junior and Kelly, for all of your responses. I think, you know, from AUT's perspective, it's an opportunity to see a much stronger alignment right across the university at all levels, across departments, across faculties, thinking about academic staff capability and capacity. But at the heart of it too is realising the way that we look at success actually has to be framed in a much more holistic way. And how are we functioning in a much more agile way to be responsive, you know, to the changing and dynamic needs of our students. So I think in that sense, you know, it does echo what has been shared already from Junior, Kelly, and also Heta. I do want to acknowledge as well, though, particularly within the UniPrep program, it is also dedicated to growing, you know, future leadership. And I think that's really important. You know, it's looking at grounding well-being, it's looking at grounding belonging, a strong sense of belonging, and therefore growing leadership. I think this work that we do transcends the here and now. It really is about growing capacity of individuals, of ainga, of whānau, of community. And so when we can look at it in that way, you realise how critical this work is, and also driving forward the aspirations of the communities that you serve. So I think, you know, at the heart of it is understanding the student journey in its fullness. And I also appreciate, Kelly, the diagrams you shared in your presentation, because I think, you know, that's another thing too, is realizing that every institution has its own set, you know, of strengths, but also sector challenges, and also compositions. So, you know, it's how do we leverage those to create something unique and bespoke that really speaks to the communities we serve. So I think, you know, this whole success framework, in a sense, allows our institutions to think much more broader, but more cohesively in a way to respond. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Jacoba. I mean, that is, thank you. I think that's a really wonderful summation of all the mahi that you're doing, and that importance of that focus on that integrated across institution learner-centric kind of approach, which is obviously what the framework and the learner success work is aiming at. We do have a couple more questions, but we are a little bit out of runway on that. I'm sorry, team. So we'll make sure that those are responded to, and we'll get back to the people that have asked those. We've made a note of those. I will pass over now to Jordan to close us off for the day, but if we could all just give our wonderful presenters a round of applause as we do that, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, kia ora, Sarah, and ka nui te mihi, kia koutou anō for your presentations, and also your whakaaro in this session. It was, yeah, really awesome to hear your insights and hear what different organisations are up to in progressing this mahi, this important mahi of implementing learner success approaches and doing what's best for our learners. Just a couple of notes before I wrap up. So the webinar recording will be published for anyone who missed this session, or if you'd like to have a refresh as well. So we'll email the link once this is available. We'll also be in touch when we have a date for our next Community of Practice session. If you aren't currently getting our emails, or you know anyone else who would like to be involved, please do reach out and email me. My email is jordan.powell@tec.gov.nz. Yeah, so thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and thank you to our presenters, and I will close us off with karakia. Me inoi tatou. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te atawhai o tō tātou ariki a ihu karati, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga, ki te wairua tapu, ake, 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 amene. Kia ore everyone, have a great Rāmere afternoon, ka kite anō.